The greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free. What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Red Pill Hardcore TV show. As always, I'm your host, V, and yes, I'm continuing the Infra-Guard Stories. The Infra-Guard Stories is very important that people understand what the Infra-Guard is, and COINTELPRO. Now, I've done an expose on COINTELPRO, but you're only hearing it from a historical, scientific point of view. I want you guys to understand that it goes on. It had been going on, it's still going on, and it will continue to go on as long as people don't educate themselves about it. And it's really scary, in particular, to women. I mean, it's a frightening thing. So I want people to understand these stories because people go online all the time and go to, like, YouTube, for example, watch these unsolved mysteries and all these mysterious this and that's videos, and it's, you need to understand, this is Infraguard, COINTELPRO, intelligence agencies. That's why this stuff seems so mysterious. Covert assignments, covert operations, covert projects, okay? Unsolved mystery stuff. This is what it is. So I want to get as many people on the show to tell their stories so they can become survivors of this stuff. And today I have with me Kristen D Manners. How are you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much, first of all, for your patience today. Getting set up. You're amazing. Thank you for your patience.
It's what I do. So, I guess start off. Tell us who you are and how this got started for you.
I'm Kristen Manners, and I'm 51 years old. I'm from Castle Rock, Colorado, and my situation started in Aurora, Colorado. Police misconduct issue. I had to call the police on my daughter. She was working for me. I knew that she was an addict, and she continually was stealing my medication, and I warned her over and over and over again, if she stole my medication again, that I was going to call the police. So she did that, and I called the police. Her boyfriend was outside listening to the whole thing, and he called the police on me as well. Why, I do not know. We were very, very close. The dispatcher had told me to get up on my stairs. I had some stairs that went up to my upstairs bedroom. And because I've never been in trouble before, never been arrested, never even had a speeding ticket, I just supposed to kind of be polite and do what I was told. So they got there. They asked me why I'm home. I told them exactly why. My daughter's stealing on medication again. I told her she did it again, that I wasn't going to put up with it. So that's why. Now, the officer that I was speaking to at the same time, down below my stairs, my daughter was sitting there talking to a bunch of other police officers, and there was, what struck me odd is there was so many police officers there, And there was also ambulance personnel there, which I didn't understand that, but she was in a huddle downstairs talking to them, and I could hear her as I was talking. And she was telling the cops that I didn't know what I was doing. She told them that I dropped my medication in my purse all the time, and I didn't know where it was, and that this is something that she'd had to put up with for God knows how long. I was completely shocked. I about came off the stairs, and I said right away, I said, she's lying. She is lying. And the cop that was standing next to me said, people lie to the police all the time. I said, no, sir, they don't. I don't. I don't lie to the police. Her boyfriend was sitting on a chair next to me, and I looked at him and I said, are you going to sit here and let her lie on me? You know, you were telling me about a safe. And he just turned his head the other way. Pretty soon, the police officer at the bottom of the stairs, Sergeant Holt from the Aurora Police Department, took me, told me he was going to end it for the night. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, where's your house keys and your car keys? And I said, they're in my purse. And he said, you need to take me to your house keys and car keys. We're going to end this tonight. And he proceeded to take me up my stairs by my arm. He got me in my bedroom, and he dumped my purse out on my bed. And I was begging and pleading with him, telling him that it was my car and my house. And he just kept telling me to shut up. And I was panicking. I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't stand here and get mouthy with this guy because I'm going to end up arrested. So he finally escorted me back down my stairs, took me by the arm again, told me to shut up. And right in front of my face, he handed my daughter and her boyfriend my house keys and my car keys. And in front of my face, they walked out of my door. And I told him, they're suspended drivers, sir. They're also intoxicated. Do you always give house keys and car keys to suspended drivers? And he said, we do it all the time. And I said, oh my. And my head just started spinning. I was like, what is happening? They literally walked out of my door. There was nothing I could do. And my life changed forever right then and there. I of course, was upset. I tried to call my daughter on the phone. She wouldn't answer. I went upstairs. I was crying. Just, I couldn't even believe it. And 30 minutes later, they came back to my house. I was upstairs in my bedroom, and I heard my door just get yanked, and something just connect to it. And then I just sat there and listened to crashing, banging, booming, noises I've never heard before in my life. And finally, it just, all of a sudden, I could hear doors slamming, I could hear a garage door going down, and I finally got out of the room, and my entire house looked like a tornado hit it. I mean, it was completely ransacked. My furniture downstairs, half my furniture was gone. My grandparents' estate in the garage had been completely gone through, half of it stolen. Everything was just in shambles. It literally looked like a tornado hit. So, normal, what I did what any normal person would do at that point, I picked up the phone again, and I called the police, and I said, hey, this sergeant just handed my house keys and car keys to two suspended, intoxicated drivers, and they just walked out of here and came back and ransacked my house. You need to get the cops back here. So, a police officer showed back up at my house, as well as my daughter's employer was sitting on the couch, and he was there that night. He was there just the night before. And I said, look at this house. This is what they did after what your sergeant did. And this is where what I call the twilight zone started. He looked at me and he said, how do I know what it looked like before? I was like, what? You were just here. How can you sit here and tell me you don't know what the house looked like before when you were just standing in my living room? And then I looked at my daughter's employer and I said, you've been here 100 times. Does my house look like this? She said, no, I don't know what's going on. Well, told him right away I was going to file a complaint. I went and I filed multiple complaints against multiple officers at the Aurora, Colorado Police Department. I gave a written and a verbal statement, and I waited. I called back to make sure that my report was taken, got a copy, reviewed it, and subsequently the sergeant involved in this case was disciplined. The report has actually gone to Internal Affairs in Aurora, Colorado. I can't even get a copy of it right now without going through a different section of this report in Aurora. So right after that, I was laying in bed every night and could hear them breaking in. I could hear them coming through the bottom. I could hear them trying to get in my doors downstairs. But then strange things started happening. I would come home and I would get something to drink or something to eat. And the next thing I know, I would start to hear the commotion. And then that was about it. I started waking up completely naked on top of my bed. I had no clue what was going on. I don't know what they did. It finally dawned on me after a while that they stuck stuff in my drink in my refrigerator, and that I was going out for the count. And I would start waking up. Things moved all over the house. I was moved from where I remember being, downstairs to upstairs, without my clothes on. Everything in my purse, they took everything out of my purse over and over and over again and rearranged it. They continually kept stealing things and misplacing things. So what did I do because of how I was raised? I just continued to call the police over and over and over again. And the police ended up continually sending this other police officer over, the same ones all the time. And this is when the whole mental health issue came in. He said, we think that maybe you might have a mental health issue because of everything you're saying and calling the police. I said, you know what, let me tell you something. I said, I've never had a mental health issue in my life. I've never been diagnosed with anything. I'm not mentally unstable. So I said, you know what, we're going to debunk this right now. I'll make an appointment with the Arapahoe County Mental Health, and I'll go have a full psychiatric exam, and I'll put it in your hand. So that's exactly what I did. I sat through a very, very lengthy psychological examination and handed the report to him, which gave me a complete bill of health mentally. And I gave it to him, and I said, look, I told you there wasn't anything wrong with me. You guys aren't coming over here and doing your job. There are things happening here. My car was out stolen for 2 months. And finally, I had a knock on my door. The police officer showed up at my house, the investigator, and she said, I came to give you your car back. And I'm looking at her going, my car's listed as stolen. Where did you get it? And she said, well, your daughter had it. I took it from her. And I said, that's a stolen car. What did you do to them? And she said, well, we just told her we were going to bring the car back. I'm like, wow, that means that auto theft is now legal in the state of Colorado if you get caught with a stolen vehicle. And I had a handful of tickets in my hand as well that they had gotten while we were out in my car. So I handed her the tickets, and I said, what are you going to do about these? I obviously couldn't get these tickets when I didn't have the car. And she looked at them, and she said, well, why don't you just hand those to me? I'll take care of them. I said, you'll take care of them? Just like that? Tickets that somebody got in a stolen car, and you just went and got my car ever so nicely and brought it back and didn't do anything to them? All right. But by then, things were so bizarre that I really didn't know what to say. And just a short time after that, I was gangbang raped. I was drugged, and the only thing I remember is having my face down by my trash can by my kitchen, and I felt somebody stepping on my back. That's about all I could feel, and I kept looking up, trying to identify who was behind me. And they got me bad. And when I ended up waking up, I woke up and it had, I mean, this is graphic, but it has to be said. They tore my rectum, and I had to crawl from my kitchen floor into the bathroom, and my rectum was bleeding, and I felt something. I knew something was inside me. So I had to pull it out, and when I pulled it out, it was cellophane, wrapped in like a Vaseline, and then like a plastic bag kind of thing over that. But inside of this little Vaseline mixture thing was like pills, medication. And I didn't know what to do other than what I knew to do, which was to stick it in a bag and call the police so that there would be evidence. And that's when I got the absolute shock of my life. Called the police, and they came over, and I told them I was just raped. I had this that came out of my rectum. My rectum is bleeding. I need help. And they said, "No, this is just another phone call that you're making." And I'm like, "Oh, and I'm like sitting there thinking, you're not going to take me in for a rape kit? No, they would not take me in for a rape kit. They literally walked out of my house. She handed me her card, and they walked out of my house. And at that point in time, I understood completely that I was dealing with something that was so much bigger than I could ever be, that I didn't even know what to do. After that, because my car was stolen again. They came in my garage, stole my car out of my garage. I reported it to police again, and the police said that they would take the report, and then the police officer came back to my house and told me that he found my car abandoned. They impounded it. I couldn't get it out of impound, so I lost my car. I was on foot. I then was kidnapped from a bus stop, taken in a car, and if it wasn't for the fact, I've been trained in weapons. I was trained in weapons for 6 years, and I was trained in self-defense, which is about the only thing that saved me that night, because while they were driving, I basically did what I needed to do to tell that guy he better get that car moved over real quick, and finally he did. And then that got caught on camera. He dumped me in front of a gas station. I called the police again. They did absolutely nothing. These people ended up robbing my mother. My mother just passed away 2 weeks ago. They robbed my mother at a nursing home. They had my mom abused at a nursing home. I was taken to a hotel room by somebody. They used my credit card. I had to change my bank account. They used my EBT card. He locked me. I couldn't get out of the bedroom. He tried to rape me in the bathroom. So many things happened. They poisoned my dog. I woke up. I had a little Pomeranian, and she was laying on the end of the bed, and I noticed that she couldn't get up, and I couldn't understand why. And when she finally did get up, her back legs were paralyzed, and they were dragging behind her, and I didn't understand, and I picked her up. And right when I picked her up, I saw like a white film, a white coating around her snout, and her eyes were completely blanched out, and all you could smell was roach killer. They had sprayed roach killer in my dog's face, and I subsequently tried to get my dog help. And on the way, I ended up being taken by ambulance to the hospital because I was sick. And they took my dog into a shelter. And I was trying to get well and get out of the hospital to go get her. And when I finally was able to go get her, they brought me in. They told me she was okay. They took me to the back. She was so happy to see me. They told me they needed me to sign some papers in the office in the front so that I could take her home. And when I got to the front, they put me in a conference room, and they were sitting there feeding me pizza and apples and all kinds of stuff, just talking to me like nothing. Next thing I know, a police officer from the Aurora, Colorado Police Department showed up in the conference room, and he asked me what I was doing there, and I told him I'm here to pick up my dog. My dog was poisoned, and I brought the dog with me to get the dog. And he said, no, you're not going anywhere with your dog with it. And I said, excuse me, why? And he said, that's just not the way it's going to go. Why are you here? These people don't want you here. They don't want you anywhere near this place. And I'm like, they just got done bringing me in here, and they took me to see my dog. And what do you mean they don't want me in here? And he just kept looking at me going, you're talking in circles. You're just talking in circles. I can't understand what you're saying. And finally, it dawned on me what was going on. And I looked at him and I said, I see. I said, I think I understand what's going on now. And he goes, do you? And I said, yes, I do. I'm obviously getting set up here, and obviously you're going to take my dog from me. That's what I'm getting. And I said, hey, if I refuse to leave here, what's going to happen? And he said, well, then I guess I'll have to take care of it another way. I said, what does that mean? He proceeded to stand me up, took me out of the conference room to the front door, and the 3 employees that had greeted me there and welcomed me in there to get my dog proceeded to show me the door with their hand, literally like that. There's the door. Get out. And I was completely shocked. I walked out of there. I had no other choice. I was on foot. I didn't have transportation. I ended up having to spend the night at a truck stop that was down the road. And not so nice things ended up happening to me at the truck stop. I was followed down there. I was almost run over countless numbers of times. There was people at the truck stop that were monitoring me the entire time I was there. I've had so many episodes of street theater and things similar to it that it's just ridiculous. Now, I heard your introduction there, and something very interesting about what you said, that people may not connect to TIs is prior to that very day, I had never heard of anything. I had never heard of anything called game stalking, to being a targeted individual. I didn't know anything about what the government supposedly did or did not do when in reference to that. Now, why? Probably because I'm a diehard Christian, and those are just things that we were never taught, things that we knew nothing about. So in your introduction, when you were talking about, voice to school and things of that nature, this is all stuff that I had to actually hear about, read about, and maybe get somewhat educated about, because I didn't even know that it was possible. And when I had my last surgery in May, I encourage every TI to do this. Get copies of your medical records, get them, and go through them immaculately. They have right in my records, and I wish I would have had this highlighted so I could show you, because it's here. It says, unknown device was placed in my body. It literally says that in my records. It also says that an unknown device was removed from my body during surgery. I have other medical records that show that I have been injected and or intravenously medication has been put in me that has been called an unknown substance. I don't know how many times. So I called the hospital on it, and I've had my HIPAA privacy rights violated at 3 different facilities. I have 4 letters of liability from 4 separate hospitals. When I got a copy of my records, I brought it to the attention of the compliance officer at each hospital. But here's what goes on with the TI. You become targeted not only by the groups that are doing this to you, but you become targeted by all of these so-called professionals that are supposed to be there to help you. Attorneys, they're all in the good old boys club. And I'm an intelligent woman. And I've sat there and listened to intelligent attorneys tell me the biggest load of garbage about my supposed cases or lack thereof. And I just sit there and listen to them. And then when they're done talking, I say, well, that's really interesting because, Now, every TI knows that you can't go to the authorities. They just label you as crazy. They label you as having psychiatric problems or chronically. That's not me. But as a result of all this, I ended up losing my home. I lost my home for the first time in my entire life. I spent 7 months in a homeless shelter.
Well, okay. Let me stop you right there. We have to take a quick commercial break.
Oriana Farrell and a state police officer are arguing over a ticket just south of Taos.
I'll be right back. Go ahead and turn the vehicle off for me.
But as the cop walks off, Farrell does the opposite, pulling away instead. So he pulls her over again. The officer isn't too happy.
Get out of the vehicle. Get out of the vehicle right now.
You can see the officer try to pull Farrell out while the 5 kids inside scream. Her 14-year-old son gets out but thinks again when the officer pulls his taser. The struggle continues.
You're already facing evading charges right now. You ran away from me, okay?
I pulled back over. I didn't run away. You see my children. I'm not trying to do anything wrong. I'm just trying to take them to the real ground.
Finally, Farrell agrees to get out and talk, but the conversation doesn't last long.
Turn around and face your vehicle. Ma'am, listen to me.
Farrell and the cop struggle as she tries to get back into the van. While that happens, the 14-year-old gets out again. And this time, he rushes the officer, trying to defend his mom. After a short tussle, the boy runs back into the minivan. The officer tries to get him out while backup arrives.
Open the door! Open the door!
Farrell starts to drive off while another officer fires at the minivan full of kids as young as 6. Farrell then takes them on a 4-minute high-speed chase into Taos, cutting into wrong-way traffic before eventually pulling over and giving up in front of a hotel. Her 14-year-old son is arrested, and so is she.
Hello, I'm B from the Red Pill Hardcore TV show, and I'm here to deliver a message to you. I am standing up, and I think you guys should stand up too. What are we standing up for? Clean air. The New World governments have been spraying aluminum, strontium, barium, all kinds of nanoparticulates, salts, heavy metals, and we are losing our environment. We have trees with aluminum toxicity. Our wildlife is disappearing, one species at a time. We have weather warfare weaponry. If there is anything such as global warming, well, we have ionospheric heaters that's dramatically bombarding our atmosphere. All this damage can be done to the environment by these nanoparticulates being sprayed into the atmosphere. We know that it's causing respiratory issues. We know that it's causing autism. We know that it's causing Morgellons, the transhumanistic disease. What else is it doing? I think it may just be altering our minds. Watch my movie, and then you decide.
Okay, yes, we are back from commercial break. I have Kristen D Manners here with us. I've got to say, you've been through hell. The way that you're treated, and people need to understand, this is police corruption. When I say Infra-Guard can be anyone from CIA agent all the way down to an Eagle Scout. Most gang stalkers, most Infra-Guard agents are working directly with police, are snitches. You know, these people that carry these police, friends of police, the FOP orders, you know, these card-carrying guys, these are the guys who are doing the stuff. Now, I want to ask you, do you think the reason why you were treated this way, because again, they protect snitches. Do you think your daughter and her boyfriend were snitches of some kind underneath police protection, or were they being investigated and you were blowing it up for them? Were they angry about that?
Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I put two and two together afterwards. When my daughter left, I found something on my table that made no sense to me at the time. It does now, but she had a notebook, and inside the notebook was a very, very, I mean, we're talking a very intricate mathematical formula. And my daughter was a genius. She was very gifted. And it had all this information about that. And then it did, on that one page, have the symbol of the Illuminati on it. But the scariest thing to me was the last page. In big, bold letters on the last page, it said, Secret Society. And I was like, what is Secret Society? And then seeing the other stuff, and then there was also a book by it, and it was all, it was like Illuminati, devil worshiping, things like that. It was some nasty stuff. I couldn't even pick it up. So, in retrospect, looking back, I would have to say that something happened to my daughter, and somebody got to my daughter and or her boyfriend especially, because she started showing signs and doing things to me that I had never seen in my life. My daughter was very respectful, and the drugs and alcohol changed her, but I think that this stuff that she somehow managed to unfortunately get involved with, she would have never thrown me under a bus like that had she not been completely brainwashed. It just wasn't her. And she had a very privileged life. She went to Europe. She was a musician. She was a flautist. She was very, very privileged. So there's nothing that would have said that her and I's relationship was strained other than her drugs and alcohol. So yes, I absolutely do now believe. But here's one thing, though, that I figured out. I also filed a major transvaginal mesh case in Boston Superior Court in 2013. And that's about the time I started noticing all my hacking. And I have subsequently found out that my law firm sent me settlement papers in 2016. And just as of 1 month ago, the docket clerk in Boston Superior Court told me that my case is not settled, that my case is pending in Boston Superior Court. So I think that my targeting actually started in 2013 roughly, and that I just didn't know it. And I think that when I called the police on my daughter, that became their opportunity to pounce on me. And that became their open door, their window to come in and do it. Now, I have to say, because there's always theories about why you become a target. You know, why are you a target? I was very actively involved with 2 terms with the Obama campaign. I campaigned actively, and my kids did as well. And I held Obama events in Denver, Colorado. Another thing was I was a serious advocate for men that were going to receive the death penalty. So when you think about certain things that happen there's multiple reasons why I could have become a target, but in my eyes, I think it is directly related to my filing of my TVN case in 2013.
And I want to touch on, I'm pretty sure the audience is probably not believing me, even though I've said it so many times. And just to put it into perspective, what you said really brings it into perspective. Now, the police, the government, whoever, anyone in government, is going to put any troublemakers, as far as they see, quote-unquote troublemakers, who are not breaking the law, who are majority of the time the victims, into a mental health situation. This is today's, I want to say, concentration camp.
Absolutely. Oh, I couldn't have said it better.
And this is how they shut people up. The people who see corruption, people who talk about corruption. See, it took you a few times to go through the ringer, and for them to get more and more outward with it, less subtle. You say, oh, I think I know what's going on. But you see how they go through it. Yeah, you're talking in circles. Yeah, I don't know anything you're saying. No. And yeah, that's how they get you. And I'm honestly from, a certain culture, black culture. We don't call the police. We handle our own problems. We as African Americans, Native Americans, we know better than to call the police. We've always known better, because this is the kind of treatment we've been going through since the beginning.
I know that. My daughter is mixed, and her boyfriend was African American. My grandson's half African American. So it would have been highly unlikely, like you're saying, that her boyfriend would have just been jumping to get on the bandwagon with the cops. You know what I'm saying?
And people, you need to understand, there are higher authorities, there are better ways to handle things than to call police, because these are steroid junkies, for the most part. They are willing to let drugs be trafficked because they're on drugs themselves. There's no regulation for drug testing these steroid junkies. There's none. They can lie and tell you that there is, but there's none. Unless there is a major equipment failure, car accident, police are not tested for anything. It's not going to happen. So that is something we need to start changing right there. These guys who are just overly aggressive, pit bull mentality, and people get hurt. You have innocent people. And people always say, call police, did you call police, call police? And it's really a gamble when you call the police, because this is neo-Nazi America. This is Gestapo, ladies and gentlemen. There are police brutality videos, groups for a reason. This is happening. And if you are one of those people who call the police, just know, if you have issues and you get the same cop more than once, you need to never call them again, because you've been marked. You've been classified as someone to be dealt with, because not everyone in the police department is corrupt. There are a certain few who are going to handle certain cases. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And one thing that I really want to get through people's head, especially Americans, because that's where it's at, is getting this message to all Americans so that they understand that this is a real problem and that it exists and that people aren't making it up. If you are one of those people that happens to not believe in this, go on the internet and type in gang stalking. Now, read that excerpt from that really quick. Then do the same search in other countries. See how many actual targeted individuals that they say that there are. Now, I find it very odd that law enforcement would just ignore you. Why do they ignore you? Because they've been told to ignore you. Why do they ignore you? Because they're dirty cops. Now, if every single person in every country is telling the exact same story over and over and over again, what are the odds that a whole entire group of crazy folks could tell the same story over and over and over again without meeting each other? Now, that's the question that I have for everybody. So when you're sitting there listening to somebody tell this story, before you judge and snap to, oh, they must be crazy for telling you this, why don't you look at how many other people are telling the story? Get on Facebook and find out how many targeted individual groups there are. Go to the government website and look up documents on this information. There's public documents out there right now that give the exact, and I mean the exact, formula for targeting and why. So you're going to tell me that all of these documents at the FBI, all these documents that you can pull up, that everybody's telling a lie, and that now the FBI is telling a lie by documenting it themselves? No, I don't think so. But there's three things that gang stalkers want to do. They want to get in your head. They want to break you down mentally. They want to have the community perceive you as a psycho. And then last but not least, their ultimate goal, the ultimate goal of any gang stalker is to have you take your life. Now hear that. That is the ultimate goal of a gang stalker, is for you to kill yourself. Now why is that? Because that makes it a nice little clean out. They just go over, everybody looks at the dead body of the person that took their life and say, see, look, that's what I told you, she was crazy, she had problems. Nobody asked any questions because you've been labeled as a crazy person. So that is the ultimate goal. And that makes me more upset, I think, than anything when I'm reading blogs from people who are going through this. Countless numbers of times I've had to write messages to people, please don't do that, because they're begging for their life because of the torture they're going through. We've got to stop this. It is very, very real. People need to start calling their representatives. They need to start putting heat on representatives. We need to start banding together. Like I had mentioned, and I don't even know if it's done, I mentioned on Facebook that we need to organize a global, like an international conference.
Well, that's happened. It's called the Super Soldier Summit, but it hasn't actually happened since 2014. And yes, I am organizing the next Super Soldier Conference, so you don't need to worry about that. I want to point out also, especially with these mental health officers, when one shows up at your door or wherever you're at, you just know they're not going to do a mental assessment on you to see if you're okay, to see if you're really in whatever position that you're in that was reported about. They're going to be there to take you away. You can explain your situation to the doctor, who is just going to sit there and write you a fake diagnosis so he can get paid. Who's behind all this? You guys might want to follow a little bit of the money. Big Pharma backs a lot of this. A lot of these police departments have a mental institution right next door. It's another jailhouse, ladies and gentlemen. They can't charge you. They'll just say you're crazy and throw you away. If you don't
say something really quick about that. When I got filmed, when the investigator took me to the shelter, guess what was in the parking lot across the street from the shelter? The police department. And what was right next to the shelter, attached to the shelter? The mental health hospital. And they tried to take me from the shelter to the mental health hospital. And I said, why would I need to go to a mental health hospital? So you are exactly right, I cannot believe. That was just so dead on, that it's amazing. Thank you for that. That is so true.
Well, yes, I've experienced it myself. I have had police just really just mad dog me. It's like, well, when I first was targeted, I was given certain information covertly, and I was being told to commit certain crimes. I refused to do it. I was being coerced into breaking into my neighbor's home to grab something that was sitting in the window. I instead knocked on my neighbor's door and made inquiries about the said item, and I told the information that I knew about it. She looked at me like, oh my God, he can talk to dead people. That was my son. Nobody knows about that. Are you psychic? I can assure you I'm not psychic. I was given this information via covert means. But next thing I know, I've got police knocking on my door. Like, hey buddy, you okay? You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. What's going on? Well, you really freaked out your neighbor. How'd you know these things? Like, I'm just being harassed with information. and the police officer's like, are you stressed? And I've just got a terrible relationship. I'm here alone in Podunk, nowhere, California. I'm having my home broken into all the time when I'm gone at school. And, well, you seem very stressed. And, the information you got, well, I think you're just really stressed. Sometimes people get these psychic powers when they're stressed. And then I hear him talking about the crazy trail here. It's like, yeah, okay, guy. I'm not stressed. I'll be fine.
Down immediately is they just try to immediately paint a picture to everybody and anybody that you are off your rocker, that you don't know what you're talking about. One thing happened tonight. I told you right when we started this that I wasn't really a Skype person. So when I got on here tonight, I was trying to update my profile, the information on my profile. Now, what is attached to your profile? Your contact list. So I went to my contact list, which is connected to my hacker's contact list, by the way, and I start scrolling down and I see my name sitting there. And it says Kristen Manners. And then it says known as AA. I'm like, Kristen Manners known as AA. And sure enough, I clicked on it. It was a completely different person's profile and my name with another Skype name. I got it on a screenshot right away. And I thought to myself, that is absolutely unbelievable. This is my own contact list, and I just got my telephone number changed, and now my own name is sitting on my contact list under somebody else's profile. And you mean to tell me that every time I turn this kind of stuff in that is just blatant and obvious, that there's nothing going on? Really? Whose mental health issues are you talking about? Yours or mine at this point? Because I'm sitting here perfectly understanding what I'm looking at. I've had this stuff in and out of the police department, and the whole thing, just like you're saying.
Let me qualify what you're saying, because I've actually had lots of people, guests to be on the show, and people who want to talk to me via the Skype, and sometimes they contact me in other ways. We can't connect. You're not showing up. Or, yeah, we connected with someone and they answered and they said, don't ever call again. It's like, well, it wasn't me. I've been waiting on you. So yeah, they will spoof accounts. They'll spoof Facebook accounts. They will spoof Skype accounts, they'll spoof any kind of accounts that you have. They'll spoof your phone through these cell towers, these intercepting cell towers, these stingrays. And they will disconnect you from any of your contacts or make you look crazy, perpetuating that you're insane to someone else. Because I've actually had people say, well, you told me never to talk to you again. I would never say any such thing. You sounded kind of crazy. You sounded off. Well, maybe that's because it wasn't me.
And I have to commend you right now, too, because I wasn't really quite sure, and I didn't ask, I should have, but I wasn't quite sure whether you actually were a target. So if I would have met you on the street and started having a conversation with you, you certainly wouldn't have been somebody that I would have said, oh, the man's crazy. And that is a big point I want to make as well. They're talking about being on ships and sailing away at night and coming back in the morning. You get my drift. Crazy is crazy. You know a crazy person when you see it. And you are far from anybody that I would ever look at and say, oh, the man's crazy. And I don't think that I would have any capability whatsoever after what I've been through to sit here and even seem somewhat normal. I call myself a female Rambo. I'm probably the only 51-year-old you'll ever meet that on my nightstand is a weapon, a machete, and numerous other one. I had to fight a dude at my other residence. He came to my house. He tried to take my purse. Tried to run out of my house with my purse. I was like, I don't think so. I took after him, tackled him in broad daylight right in the middle of my yard, yanked my purse out from him. He started throwing blows at me, so I did the same. And pretty soon, he was jumping up off the ground and running to his car. His girlfriend was waiting for him in the parking lot. The men that do this, they have no morals. They have no respect. They have no values. They think that mistreating and abusing women is okay. They have no problem in the world doing it. And I want to say something incredibly important here, especially because you're African American. I want to put something in there. What happened in the 60s when people like Dr. Martin Luther King and whatnot tried to do everything they did in order to ensure civil rights for all Americans? It makes me absolutely sick to my stomach when I see African Americans or people of color that are actually involved in doing this, because what the heck are you doing to anybody that ever fought for civil rights? Because you are standing there doing the exact same thing that was done to you. How dare you, number one. Number two, I'm sorry, call me whatever, but you can kind of expect this out of white people because that's their pattern. That's what they've done for forever and ever and ever, is try to control people. So, and then I had a service personnel, a female, that I knew was standing in the post office one day, not because she had to be standing in the post office, but because she was there for me. I could tell the minute I walked in. And I'm respectful though, so I walked up to her, looked her dead in the face, I did, and I said, thank you for your service. And I shook her hand, and her head went down, I don't know how fast, and she looked the other direction. Now my point with that is, if you're in the service and you're involved in anything directly related to stalking, bank stalking, how dare you? What are you fighting for? You're supposed to be there fighting for our freedom, and you're sitting there basically being a traitor to our country and the people down here that you're doing it to.
I agree with you. We're coming to the end of the show here, running out of time. But I must say, I'm glad you said that, because I feel the same way when I see a lot of these police brutality videos, and some of them, it's definitely a large African American guy committing the crime. Well, the guy with the badge. I have a terminology for these guys, because I see them all the time. It's like, wow, he actually thinks he's one of them. Like, I think that way. said, wow, you bought. I mean, of course they don't care. They don't care what color their dogs are, the New World Order. But it's like, I feel really ashamed because it's like, wow, this guy really thinks he's one of them. He thinks he's going to make it to the end with them. He's in. Yeah. Wrong. But I call these people, I call them chocolate cream-filled ho-hos. That's exactly what they are. They're the most, it's the most vile out of all of it.
Absolutely.
But we are coming to the end of the show. Oh, I want to know really quick, what police department was this that treated you this way?
Well, there's been multiple police departments, but a major incident happened in Aurora, Colorado, the Aurora, Colorado Police Department. The officer that I filed a major complaint against was Sergeant Holt of the Aurora Police Department, and there is a record on file in Internal Affairs now of my incident and his disciplinary procedure.
I've actually had to call and warn the Houston Police Department about treating Amy Schroen the way they've been treating her. And you guys are going to find out what that's all about later on. But I've actually had to call the Internal Affairs and Victim Assistance. And boy, they get scared. I think it's time to put these police departments underneath scrutiny. I think we all need to watch the news. We all need to watch the cases going in and out of these police departments. We need to keep our own files. Forget the government. We need to keep our own files. We need to do civilian militia. We need to do civilian records. We need to do all those things. We need to keep tabs on these badge-wearing psychopaths. And
also on the doctors, get your medical records too. I get them.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for coming onto the show.
I can't thank you enough, and I'm so sorry for our little glitch at the beginning, but you're an amazing person for doing this, and I wish you nothing but blessings, and I hope that I'll be able to come on again and share some more things, because what you're doing is so important.
Absolutely. I'm a man on fire. Can't stop. Won't stop. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another episode of the Red Pill Hardcore TV show. I'm your host, V, and catch me next week.
For you to do this, sir. You pulled me over for a speeding ticket. What are you doing? No, sir. I want somebody here now. Thank you, ma'am. My name is Takara Williams. I have no idea why he is stopping me. Help me. This is Winston-Salem Police Department, and his name is Officer Carter. Officer Carter. It's harassed me. He's not telling me why he's putting me in handcuffs right now.
You have your hand.
No, sir. No, sir. Not until my grandfather gets here, because there's no reason. He said he is scared. He's doing this for his safety.
I don't want you to have the keys.
For what? This is not my vehicle. It's my grandfather. He's on the way to obtain it. There's no reason for you to take the vehicle into any type of custody. There is no reason. So I would like to know why. Why are you doing this?
You refuse to cooperate.
No. How? How? You tell me turn off the vehicle? I did.
I wanted the keys.
Why do you want the keys to a vehicle that, for what? You're not telling me why. There's no reason for it to back up.
Oh God, he's gonna throw it on the ground.
Children are in the back, and you pulled me over for what? There is no reason for this. Yes, I will call. Oh my God. At this point, oh my God. Yes. Oh my God, I never thought I would have to deal with this in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. For what? For what? Because I'm a black girl? No, obviously. For what? I don't have anything, sir. I'm taking my kids to daycare that I can't do now. You gonna watch them for the time being? Huh? I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work. He can't do it.
Calm down, baby.
No, because this is not right.
Calm down. Calm down.
51 and the 35.
Just calm down.
Please record this, ma'am. So I can have
Okay.
because I'm good. going to
Calm
pull the
down.
fuck out of him.
Out of the road.
Calm down.
You can report, that's fine. Step out of the road.
Calm down, baby. Calm down.
Bring your knee in.
I'm gonna bring a lawyer in. How about that? Because there's no reason for this. You don't have to do this.
Can you fix her breast?